Jussie Smollett took advantage of the pain and anger of racism to promote his career. This publicity stunt was a scar that Chicago didn't earn and certainly didn't deserve.
What a day. It is Friday, February 22nd, and whirlwind in the Windy City, where Justice for Jussie is taking on a whole new meeting. The disgraced star getting an earful from Chicago's top cop before heading back to the Empire set.
But could he soon be back in court facing new charges? We're live in Chicago. Plus, the father of the Alabama ISIS bride demanding his daughter be allowed back into the U.S.
The brand new legal fight he just picked with the Trump administration. And the thin blue line is holding strong.
How police took a stand to get that flag back in their state capital. Fox and Friends First on a Friday morning continues right now.
For a while now, but it was National Margarita Day because...
Why?
Because if you were told me on Wednesday, I think was the day when Carly and I were yellow and green and we looked like a giant, what viewer said, margarita, and they said, why didn't you wear that on Friday?
Are you kidding? You've had that thing marked on your calendar for months now. Good morning, everybody. You're watching Fox and Friends First on this National Margarita Day, also known as Friday morning. I am Todd Pyro in for Rob Schmidt.
A day to be celebrated. And I am Jillian Mealy. Thanks so much for starting your day with us. Boy, yesterday was a big day in Chicago after Jussie Smollett returns to the set of Empire hours after posting $100,000 bond. He's facing a felony charge for filing a false police report in an alleged hate crime hoax.
Matt Finn, live for us in Chicago, why prosecutors believe this was just one big publicity stunt. Matt, good morning.
Good morning, Todd. Jillian. Chicago's police superintendent is slamming actor Jussie Smollett, saying that this city embraced Smollett and then he turned around and slapped it in the face. And Chicago's top cop also alleges that Jussie Smollett carried out this entire hoax because he was upset about how much he was being paid. Prosecutors also say that Smollett sent a fake death threat letter to himself with a MAGA return address. And when that letter did not get enough attention, he concocted this elaborate hoax, paying the Osendaro brothers $3,500 to pretend to be President Trump supporters that beat him, called him racial and homophobic slurs, and put a noose around his neck. Empire actor Jussie Smollett took advantage of the pain and anger of racism to promote his career. Why would anyone, especially an African-American man, use the symbolism of a noose to make false accusations? How could someone look at the hatred and suffering associated with that symbol and see an opportunity to manipulate that symbol to further his own public profile? Jussie Smollett's legal team is swinging back. A portion of their statement reads, quote, "Today we witnessed an organized law enforcement spectacle that has no place in the American legal system. The presumption of innocence, a bedrock in the search for justice, was trampled upon at the expense of Mr. Smollett." Police say that most of Smollett's minor cuts and bruises were self-inflicted that night. The judge in bond court says the most disturbing allegation is the part about the noose because, quote, "it conjures up the greatest evil in this country." And Fox News has learned that Jussie Smollett did return to the Empire set shortly after he posted bond and was released from jail yesterday. Smollett is set to appear again on these charges in court next month, and the FBI is also investigating that fake death threat letter. And Smollett faces some serious federal charges if it's determined that he did send that letter to himself. Back to you guys.
It's amazing how this has unraveled. Matt Finn, you've been on top of it since the beginning. Thank you.
Thanks, Matt. Jussie Smollett already facing the possibility of prison time once this case ends.
But as Judge Andrew Napolitano points out, Smollett could be spending a lot longer than 3 years behind bars if the feds come calling.
The evidence that was laid out, however, by the assistant prosecutor in the hallway of the courthouse after his Smollett's hearing today is so precise, so clear, so damning, and shows such a careful planning and plotting that the government now has the opportunity to charge him with a variety of things. Every time he lied to the police, another charge of lying, all of this on top of filing a false police report. You're showing now the envelope that went through the mail. This triggers federal jurisdiction. Even if you're mailing that to yourself, triggers the federal authorities of posing a terroristic threat through the mails. Brady's facing 25 years in jail if you add up the potential state crimes and the potential federal crimes.
The brothers that Smollett allegedly hired to carry out the plot face no charges after testifying before a grand jury.
All right, let's take a look at Capitol Hill, a live look right now where today House Democrats will introduce a resolution to block President Trump's national emergency. Texas Congressman Joaquin Castro is leading the push and hoping to get a vote by next month. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi encouraging both sides of the aisle to back the resolution, but some Republicans say it's not likely.
I have a funny feeling that they won't get all of Democrats to vote for it. There'll be a lot who actually do want border security in this country, and you'll get virtually no Republicans.
Democratic leaders will introduce a similar resolution in the Senate.
Democrats making that push as thousands of migrants flood our southern border.
Right now, agents are ramping up security in El Paso, Texas, after a new Central American caravan unloads in Mexico.
Griff Jenkins joins us live at a migrant shelter in Mexico. Griff, what's the latest?
Good morning, Todd and Jillian. You know, here at the Casa del Migrante, one of two of the shelters in Ciudad Juarez, let me show you the barbed wire, the concertina wire on top of this shelter to keep the migrants safe. Well, that's exactly what the Border Patrol in El Paso is doing. They were making preparations at the points of entry here in El Paso and points in between, because it's what we've seen in California. It's what we saw when we were over in Piedras Negras, when the caravans were gathering there, because, as the officials say in El Paso, they can't wait to be prepared should there be an influx of migrants, and we certainly have that, thousands here in Ciudad Juarez. In fact, one of the migrants that we followed all the way from Honduras back on January 15th, Jose, is come here. He has a pink wristband on his arm, and it says the number 6,387. That is a long line to wait your turn to get asylum. We don't know exactly where they are in that counting. However, it is the wanting to get as soon as you can across that border that is leading this flood of migrants to push the boundaries of what U.S. officials can deal with. They're being overwhelmed. Obviously, the El Paso sector is of 43,000 illegal entries already this fiscal year, 2019. I spoke yesterday with the mayor here in Ciudad Juarez, Armando Cavada, and he says that the people of Juarez are very upset that this flood of migrants have come here. The mayor told me that in Piedras Negras, that last place where I reported to you a few weeks ago, he said that they put people on buses from that shelter when they closed it and sent them here. So it is an overwhelming problem for all of the different border cities along the southwest border. Over in Arizona, a troubling development. The CBP officials there telling us that another MS-13 gang member has been apprehended. The Tucson sector folks got him. His name is Alonzo Alon, and he has more than 10 prior previous entries for a dangerous MS-13 gang member. But here in Mexico, nationwide, they are talking about one thing, and that is the unbelievable rise in violence. According to officials in Mexico, the month of January was the deadliest January on record. 2,452 homicides intentionally. That is a first, and people are worried about it. The federal government has deployed troops and federal police to a lot of different cities to try and quell that problem. Here in Ciudad Juarez, by the way, they're seeing a 6-year high in terms of the homicide rate. So it is all hands on deck here as we are on this side of the border across from El Paso. Todd, Jillian.
All right, thank you very much, Griff. Keep us posted. I know we will. The father of the Alabama ISIS bride is suing the Trump administration to bring her home. Hoda Muthana's family wants to affirm she is an American citizen after Secretary of State Mike Pompeo said she was not. Jim Hansen, president of the Security Studies Group, joined us earlier, sounding off on her claims.
She has been determined to not be a U.S. citizen, not by the Trump administration, but by the Obama administration. The Trump administration is simply affirming that and saying, let her in.
Muthana was born in New Jersey, but the government claims her father was a diplomat at the time, which would bar her from American citizenship. She's begging to come back to the U.S. with her son after joining ISIS in Syria in 2014. A Coast Guard lieutenant accused of plotting a mass domestic terror attack is staying behind bars. A judge ruling Christopher Hassan will be held without bail for 2 weeks while the feds investigate his activities. Prosecutors say Hassan is a significant threat to the community after investigators found a hit list of possible targets, including Democratic leaders and journalists. The self-proclaimed white nationalist stockpiling 15 firearms with more than 1,000 rounds of ammo in his basement in Maryland.
A Florida mayor behind bars charged with shooting at deputies trying to serve a warrant. Investigators say Dale Mossad opened fire after a SWAT team told him to drop his gun. The Port Richey mayor now facing attempted murder charges.
He's lucky he's not dead. He's the one who made the decision to shoot us. He's the one who's going to be in jail right now.
SWAT teams sent to Mossad's home to serve the warrant because he has a history of drug use and violence. Mossad under investigation for allegedly practicing medicine without a license. It's an interesting mugshot. He looks surprised. North Carolina will hold a new election over concerns of fraud in a hotly contested House race. Republican candidate Mark Harris won his election in November by less than 1%, but a political operative allegedly manipulated mail-in ballots in Harris's favor. The State Board of Elections unanimously voting to hold a new election after Harris called for a revote himself. It's unclear when the election will be or whether Harris will run again.
It is 11 minutes after the hour. Chicago's top cop slamming the media's coverage of the Jussie Smollett case.
I only hope that the truth about what happened receives the same amount of attention that the hoax did.
Why our next guest says if that were true, the whole orchestrated attack would have never happened in the first place.
And move over, Colonel Sanders.
Oh.
Yes, that's right. There's a new man in charge of keeping KFC's secret recipe a secret. We're going to introduce him to you, or you can just look at your screen right now. Fox and Friends returns after this. Fox and Friends first, in fact.
Jussie Smollett from the hit show Empire was attacked and beaten. There are many indications of a hate crime here.
Smollett is also black and gay, which may have been the motivation for an alleged attack.
They were yelling MAGA country as they beat him.
This is MAGA country. They are looking for two suspects who were apparently wearing Make America Great Again hats.
As you just saw in that montage, the left quickly embraced the claims made by Jussie Smollett, taking to social media, appearing on TV, demanding justice.
But will the same celebrities and media outlets now come to the defense of the president's supporters? I think the obvious answer is probably not, but let's get an opinion here. Here to weigh in is Republican strategist Kimberly Klacik. Thank you for your time this morning. We appreciate it. I mean, look, you would think that some people would have learned their lesson after the Covington Catholic, situation that went on. And now we have another situation where, Trump supporters are, put out there to blame, so to speak. What do you make of it? People aren't learning.
Yeah, well, first and foremost, I feel terrible for the police chief and investigators that spent countless of hours chasing a ghost. And I pray that there weren't any victims due to lack of resources because of this investigation. Now, the police chief, I know he said something about hopefully the truth makes as much traction as the lies that Smollett told, but I don't see how that's possible. If it was possible, Smollett would have boosted his career on actual hate crimes that exist. This is what happens when you have a high demand for racism, but not a ton of racists actually out there. Victimhood is very lucrative in America, and I think Jussie Smollett knows that, and so does the left know that. And so that's what they've been depending on and pushing from the very beginning, and that's why he thought he could get away with this.
Yeah, Kimberly, take a look at these numbers. Obviously, we showed in that montage, that was just a snippet of the wall-to-wall seeming coverage of the Jussie Smollett case when it fit the mainstream media narrative, but when something happened over the course of the last 48 hours and that narrative started to become questioned, here's what the numbers look like. CNN, they devoted 107 minutes. That seems like an okay amount in the scope of your entire primetime. But take a look. MSNBC, when news of Jussie Smollett's arrest, posting bail, all that came out, they provided no coverage whatsoever. What do you make of that, Kimberly?
This is just what they roll on every single time. Like Jillian said with the Covington schoolboys. That lie turned out to be a lie. It was obvious. And then they just ran with the fact that Jussie Smollett's unbelievable story came out just a week later. This is what the left does. This is what Democrat politicians do. I mean, I think, honestly, Jussie Smollett, what he did is a disservice to gay and the black communities, but also this constant conversation about racism and gay pride. If we spent just as much time on being pro-business or pro-America and support those policies, President Trump would have never been able to run on Make America Great Again. But he could, because everyone's selling victimhood. So he ran on the fact that he knows people feel sometimes they are the underdog. So this is, to me, I'm not surprised. I'm just shocked, really, that he made and orchestrated this whole entire attack, and it's really sad.
Do you think these attacks will continue against the president and his base?
Oh, definitely. I think I urge, actually, Trump supporters to just be very aware and very alert. I think their agenda moving to 2020 elections is to depict Trump and his supporters as racist because they have no other platform. I mean, just think about how many people covered the Black History Month event at the White House yesterday. Not a ton of networks, you know? I think right now, if you are a straight white male in America that shows any signs of masculinity, you are a target.
There you go.
Kimberly Klacik, thank you.
Thank you, Kim.
Thank you.
It is 19 minutes after the hour. Shocking video of a gunman opening fire on a deputy. This morning, a new twist in the case. Turns out the triggerman was here illegally.
And Donald Trump Jr. calling out Instagram for blocking users from liking his posts. So, is it conservative censorship or protection from spam? I've asked the producers for pronunciation of this young lady's name. I still haven't gotten it. I'm going to go with Carly Shimkus. She's here live with the outrage growing on social media.
Good Friday morning, welcome back. Protection from spam or conservative censorship. Instagram playing defense after Donald Trump Jr. calls them out for blocking users from liking his posts.
Carly Shimkus, Fox News Headlines 24/7, Sirius XM 115 here with the online reaction. It kind of feel like it was Facebook, then it was Twitter, now Instagram getting in the game.
Yeah, that's right.
They don't want to be in it.
So liking posts is one issue, but he's also heard from people who say that their accounts automatically unfollowed him.
That's weird.
And they didn't know until they checked. So he posted a bunch of screen grabs that show that their actions, their interaction with Donald Trump Jr. has been blocked by Instagram. And check out some of this reaction. Buck says, we need to start a conservative social media outlet. Another Instagram user says, I get conservative blocked all the time on Twitter and Insta for no reason other than being a conservative. And Pamela says, this is pretty sad. I will refollow you, but who's to say they won't do it again? Instagram responded to this in a statement. Listen to this. They say, the action blocked message is shown to people when we detect they may be taking part in spammy behavior. For example, liking multiple posts. This is a measure we have in place to prevent spam on Instagram and isn't specific to any one account. So that's the explanation for the action blocked message. Although I think it's pretty common to like multiple pictures on people's pages.
You're bored, you're scrolling through, you're like.
Yeah. So I wasn't aware of the spammy behavior thing, but
that is a weird response. Hey, Shimkus, if I've told you once, I've told you 1,000 times. Don't mess with James Woods.
Yeah, okay, so he is a part of the story.
Right.
First, let's start with Alyssa Milano.
Sure.
So it is no secret that the Democratic Party is moving to the left. Bernie Sanders raised, $6 million the first 24 hours he announced his presidential campaign. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, the new face of the party. Well, listen to what Alyssa Milano says. She says, this is the part of the election cycle when the GOP will paint the Dems as socialists to deter you from voting in 2020 for the party that actually fights for the people. They'll drill the word socialist into our daily vernacular. Don't be fooled. This is strategy, not sincerity. James Woods responded saying, you are correct in your assessment. Actually, it is a classic tactic from the playbook used by your fellow liberals, Rules for Radicals by Saul Alinsky, a well-known, wait for it, socialist. Carlton says the reason for the confusion on the left about socialism is they really don't understand the definition of socialism. Jeff says, sorry, but when they call themselves democratic socialists, we assume they mean democratic socialists. So, you can blame the Democratic Party or the Republican Party for a lot. I just don't think calling the socialists a socialist is one of those things.
Well, and a lot of them are touting socialist policies. So
Thank you. The nail on that, Jillian.
Minor details.
Yeah.
So let's talk about this RoboCop that's protecting a recipe.
I saw that you teased it going into a commercial. This is the big story of the day. So KFC just announced their newest spokesperson called Colonel RoboCop. You see him right there. A Colonel Sanders RoboCop hybrid who was tasked with helping protect their secret recipe. Let the food wars begin. This is Burger King's tweet announcing their brand new chicken sandwich. And they say that a king outweighs a colonel. I think we have a video of the King Colonel hybrid. There it is right there. And then Rob says, the RoboCop reboot everyone is waiting for. And Marco tweets, shouldn't it be Robo-Colonel?
Interesting.
We need to get the Robo-Colonel on the show.
That's right. Oh, he's right behind you. No, I'm just joking.
I was like, what? Thanks, Carly.
Thanks, appreciate it.
Time now. Which camera? This one.
This one.
2020 Democrats caught in a race of who can go further to the left, but how far is too far. Charlie Kirk says there are 5 ways Democrats are fighting to, I love this, out-crazy each other. He's live to break them down.
And the birthday wish going viral. How this little boy is taking action to keep police safe for his 12th birthday. You don't want to miss it.
These are top headlines this morning. Actor Jussie Smollett returned to the set of Empire hours after posting a $100,000 bond. Smollett facing felony charges for filing a false police report in Chicago. Prosecutors believe he staged a hate crime as a publicity stunt. He could soon face new charges for allegedly sending a hate letter to himself. The father of the Alabama ISIS bride is suing the Trump administration to bring her home. Hotan's family wants to affirm she is an American citizen after Secretary of State Mike Pompeo said she was not. The government claims Hotan's father was a diplomat when she was born in New Jersey, which would bar her from American citizenship. And House Democrats are introducing a resolution today to block President Trump's national emergency on our southern border. Texas Congressman Joaquin Castro is leading the push and hoping to get a vote by next month. Jillian.
The man who opened fire on a California deputy was an illegal immigrant, Javier Hernandez Morales, seen in this really frightening video, shooting at Riley Jarecki during a traffic stop.
Shots fired, shots fired.
Firing back and killing Hernandez Morales. She, thankfully, was not hurt. According to ICE, Hernandez Morales has been deported back to Mexico 3 times and had a long criminal history, including battery on a peace officer. Officials say he had warrants out for his arrest and went by several aliases. A truck carrying 22 illegal immigrants smashes through an old barrier in California. Border agents were racing to stop the truck when the driver rammed into their vehicle, then ran away. Border Patrol arrested all 22 passengers left inside the truck. Drug users could soon have safe places to get high in Maryland, the first of its kind. A bill to create safe opioid injection sites is on the table. The pilot program would reportedly let opioid users inject with clean needles near trained staffers. A state committee passed the same bill last year, but later rejected it. It is 32 minutes after the hour right now. It's time to get a check your forecast. Janice, is it any calmer than it's been?
Well, it depends on where you live. Let's put it that way. You know, there was snow in Malibu, California yesterday. Crazy town. Yes, so let's take a look at it. Here are our current temperatures. I do want to point out across portions of the Mississippi River Valley, we're going to have a very spring-like system move in tomorrow that could bring the potential for not only flooding, but severe storms. Tornadoes. So we're going to watch for that heading into Saturday across portions of the Mississippi, the Tennessee River Valley. Flash flood watches and warnings are already posted. We get several inches of rainfall. So there's the rain there. That's going to be this big story. Then we have another system pushing into the northern plains, the northern Rockies. And look at the snow across the desert Southwest. That, my friends, is also a big deal. So there's your forecast today as we go through time. Am I taking a walk, Matt? Am I walking? Okay, I'm walking. Sometimes I walk, sometimes I don't walk. There is your forecast today. Again, watching the potential for some severe weather across the south, and then that snow across the desert Southwest. But here, look at 46 in New York. We'll take it.
We will take it.
Right?
Love it.
Happy Friday!
Happy Friday.
Judy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You got it.
2020 Democrats have been moving further to the left in an attempt to appear the most progressive. But how far is too far? Turning Point USA founder Charlie Kirk says Democrats are actually fighting to out-crazy each other. Joins us now with proof to back that up. Charlie, thanks for joining us here. I love that phrase, out-crazying each other. And example 1A is the Green New Deal / disaster.
Yeah, totally. Look, I mean, if you look at the details of the Green New Deal, it proposes banning 99% of all cars, pretty much obliterating air travel as we know it. The Democrat Party in the primary essentially come down to two really big things. Who can give away the most free stuff and who can hate Trump the most? Those are pretty dangerous things. And because look, as a country, we should never be about giving out free stuff, but expanding freedom and opportunity. And now you have Bernie Sanders coming in the race who said, wait, I was giving free stuff away before all of you guys. So essentially you have right now a booming economy, the country's turning around, and the entire Democrat Party is about giving away more and more stuff to more people and hating a successful president.
And of course, let's never forget about the flatulent cows. We can never forget the flatulent cows. You mentioned the economy turning around. A lot of people attribute that to tax cuts, but the left seems to want tax hikes.
Yeah, and I mean, so not only that, they're proposing wealth taxes. I mean, this is something that is profoundly new in the American political discourse. I think Elizabeth Warren has even put it part of her core policy to say, well, we should not just tax income, we should tax people's wealth. And so you have the Green New Deal, which is now it's embraced that any sort of challenging of people in the Democrat Party. In fact, when they said they're going to bring it to a vote, Mitch McConnell said he's going to bring it to a vote. He's then accused of trying to kill the bill. If you're trying to kill a bill, don't you want the most amount of people to vote on it? So tax hikes is another one that, as I mentioned in my FoxNews.com op-ed, the Democrats are trying to out-crazy each other.
Number 3, ending private health care.
Yeah, Kamala Harris came out with that, and I think she walked it back a little bit, but she said, oh, no, we can get rid of private health care, which even Howard Schultz, who's center-left, said this is totally nonsense. This would destroy millions of jobs, essentially turn the entire American healthcare industry into the VA, and we know from experience and from data that has not worked very well whatsoever.
You alluded to it before, handouts for all.
That's exactly right. And look, so you're going to have Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, Kamala Harris, and Cory Booker try to say, no, I've been trying to give away the most amount of stuff to the most amount of people. And again, that's just not who we are as a country. Medicare for all, education, free education, student loan forgiveness. And as someone who believes in free markets and believes in American exceptionalism, it's very concerning to see an entire party that just want to give away more and more free stuff.
And finally, it's amazing this is even an option, infanticide.
Yeah, and this is what's stunning to me, to be honest with you. This was somewhat of a news story for a couple days in Virginia, and then the news cycle kind of went towards some of the past mistakes that the governor made 20 or 30 years ago, but he still holds this really scary position on abortion. The president mentioned the State of the Union address, and it seems as if no one in the Democrat Party, at least running for president, disagrees with what I call essentially post-birth abortion. And if you look at the actual governor's words of Virginia, it's pretty scary what he stands for. So look, the Democrat Party has become more and more radical. Scary for America, but it's somewhat good news for the president because he'll be able to win back the middle part of the country and self-described political moderates.
We will see. We have months to have the Democrats figure this all out before they give us their nominee. Charlie Kirk, is always a pleasure.
You bet. Thank you.
It is just about 38 minutes after the hour. It's been over 6 years since Superstorm Sandy ravaged New York. Why the city's liberal mayor is now being told to shell out to pay up over a scam for relief funds. The bogus claims now drawing outrage.
And there was a throwaway. Runners into the crowd spilled the beer. And will they cross the line then?
With beer. A basketball announcer getting creative when the play spills off the court, and it didn't stop there. More of this incredible call coming up.
Okay, Hollywood's biggest night is almost here. Award season coming to a close this weekend with this year's highly controversial Oscars.
Here to protect who will walk away with the iconic Golden Trophy is Fox News contributor Kevin McCarthy. Kevin, as always, a pleasure to see you. We're going to do this. Should win, will win, should win. And we're going to begin with Best Supporting Actor.
Yeah, well, good morning to you, Todd and Jillian. Thank you for having me on. Very excited about the Oscars on Sunday. So, supporting actor, I think this category is an absolute lock. I think Mahershala Ali is going to take home the award for Best Supporting Actor for the movie Green Book. He won a couple years back for Supporting Actor for Moonlight. I think this category is completely locked in. The only one that I want to win here, though, is I want Sam Elliott to win this award. But I think Mahershala Ali will win. Sam Elliott was obviously in A Star is Born, but Mahershala will take it for Green Book.
Okay, what about Best Supporting Actress? Will win, should win.
Yeah, I think this is going to go to Regina King. So Regina King did an amazing job in a movie called If Beale Street Could Talk. Now, If Beale Street Could Talk was directed by the same filmmaker who did Moonlight. I think Regina King will win and should win. But should win, by the way, I do want to mention also Marina from this movie called Roma, which is an amazing performance as well. So I want Regina to win as well, but I also want to see Marina take it. So right now I'm kind of in between. But I think Regina King will ultimately take home this award on Sunday night for If Beale Street Could Talk.
Best Director, you have the same person in both categories.
I do, yeah, Alfonso Cuarón. I mean, this is one of the most incredibly directed films I've seen in a long time, and just the idea of what a director does. And this filmmaker shot the movie in absolute continuity, meaning he shot it in order. He didn't give his actors a script. Everything you're seeing is actually genuine reactions from actors learning what's happening in the story. So it's very, very cool how he did it. So I think Alfonso Cuarón will win and should win on Sunday.
Okay, Best Actor. You've told us before, I know who you think should win. Who do you think will win?
Yeah, in this category, I think Rami Malek is definitely your frontrunner. He has won a lot of awards leading up to this. The only person I think that could surprise here would be Christian Bale. In my opinion, I think Bradley Cooper deserves to win this award, but right now, Star is Born really kind of fizzled out in the award season. I think Rami Malek takes home the award of Bohemian Rhapsody for Freddie Mercury on Sunday night, for sure.
Now let's go to Best Actress.
Yeah, this is another one, Glenn Close. I mean, this is, in my opinion, a career award. She's going to win for a movie called The Wife. It's an amazing performance. She's an amazing actress. I think Lady Gaga should win this award. Again, I think Star is Born has kind of fizzled out throughout award season. I think Glenn Close did a great job in that role, and she's been nominated before, but she's never won. So I think they're going to give it to her for career, but also performance. So Glenn Close is my prediction for will win. Gaga should win.
Okay, let's stick with the Star is Born theme. Do you think that that film wins for Best Picture?
Yeah, and this, honestly, I have never seen an award season like this where there is absolutely no frontrunner right now for this Best Picture award. I don't know who's going to win. I mean, I'm going to tell you right now, I think Roma will end up winning Best Picture on Sunday night. That's the Netflix movie that's directed by Alfonso Cuarón. That movie won a lot of major awards leading up to it. See, here's the thing, though. You have every different movie has won different things. Green Book won the Producers Guild Award. Alfonso Cuarón won the DGA. So there's a lot of different guilds that were given. SAG went to Black Panther. So you have a lot of different films that could win Best Picture. Black Klansman, Black Panther. You could see A Star is Born. You could see Green Book. You could see Vice. There's so many movies out there. I think A Star is Born should win. But ultimately, I think Roma will win. But don't be surprised if you hear Green Book or if you hear Black Klansman or if you hear Black Panther. I'm kind of cheating here, but there's just so many movies to choose from, and that's what makes this show so exciting. We don't really know what's going to happen for Best Picture on Sunday night.
Definitely winning for Best Dressed is you, my friend.
You stole my line.
Thank you for joining us, Kevin.
I love you guys. Thank you so much for having me on, and pardon me if I seem a little tired. I just landed from LA about 2 hours ago, so thank you for having me on.
That's awesome.
It sounded okay.
We love the McCarthy energy. Time now, 46 minutes after the hour. Jussie Smollett's web of lies unraveling after staging, allegedly, his own attack.
How do you not believe that? It's the truth. I will never be the man that this did not happen to. I am forever changed.
From hate crime to hoax, the question everyone is asking now is why. The clinical psychologist weighs in next.
But first, Steve Doocy with what's coming up on Fox and Friends. Good morning, Steve.
Good morning, Jillian. I missed earlier. I sat down during Kevin McCarthy. Was I supposed to wear a tuxedo today?
Yes.
Where's your tuxedo, Deuce?
It's funny. Once upon a time, my wife told me an event was, formal. I put on a tuxedo. I went there. I was the only one in a tuxedo.
Better to be overdressed than underdressed.
Everybody thought I was a waiter. They just wanted to know where the shrimp was. All right, coming up on Fox and Friends starts 14 minutes from right now. Of course, we're going to be talking about what is going on out in Chicago with Jussie Smollett. Also, a number of presidential contenders were asked about the situation, and one, very prominent one, dodged. You'll see that. Also, as we have heard this morning, apparently a conservative activist roughed up at UC Berkeley. What's up with that? We've got a great panel of people who are going to be talking about the news today. White House Press Secretary Sarah Sanders is going to be with us, the Attorney General of the great state of Florida, Pam Bondi, the Senator from South Carolina, Tim Scott, and of course it's a Friday, and that means it's Geraldo Rivera, who will be on in about 2 hours and 12 minutes. I'll call him and tell him he should wear tails.
Tails. White tux and tails.
See you soon, Steve.
I'm sure he's got it. All right, see you later.
We're coming right back. Alleged hate crime hoax unraveling before the nation.
How can you doubt that? Like, how do you not believe that? It's the truth. I will never be the man that this did not happen to. I am forever changed. I was talking to a friend, and I said, I just want them to find them. And she said, sweetie, they're not going to find them.
Well, now everyone wants to know why in the world would a person make up such a terrible story. Here with his analysis is clinical psychologist Dr. Norman Free. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Jillian.
Everyone now is asking why. Sometimes you can go back through social media, even different accounts and different things that people have stated to find some reasons why. So let's go ahead and to be clear, you do not treat Jussie. This is just, we're getting your opinion.
Jussie, and I'm just giving conjecture from my experience
right.
as a clinical psychologist.
Let's take a look at some of his social media posts and tell us what you think about it. Okay, sure. Let's take a look at this tweet on Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and it says, "At AOC is the only one speaking facts." This, by the way, was during that partial government shutdown. And he goes on to say, "This is so far beyond political party affiliation across the world, no matter the border from sea to shining sea. 45, speaking about President Trump, and all his white hooded cohorts are a national disgrace. If you support them, so are you. Clowns." Looking back at that, knowing what we know now, what do you make of it?
It's an interesting statement, and actually, when you take a look at it, it's quite embarrassing, because what's happening is there's a recapitulation of an unconscious process slowly unfolding, whereby Mr. Smollett is almost spilling the seeds of his own conscience, saying there's fraud about here, but it's coming from the inside.
And you mentioned fraud. He goes on in another tweet to say, quote, and this is, by the way, after he allegedly sent himself, we're now discovering that letter in the mail with white powder in it, and he says, quote, "Frauds are everywhere, y'all." It goes on to say, "Protect the mind, heart, and spirit of you and your people at all costs. Just remember, salt, cocaine, and anthrax can all appear to be sugar, the refined kind, of course. Just be careful out here." It seems like he kind of knows a lot of what he's talking about there.
Well, it's fascinating because there's this gravitas, there's this bluster, which is really almost being spoken in an attempt to hide this small, empty ego that feels the sense of shame. But instead of expressing that, there's these comments of, you better watch out there because there's danger about.
Do people get to a certain point where they actually believe the stories they've made up?
It's a fascinating question. I actually believe that, and I can't tell you whether Mr. Smollett believes these things, but I do think that in an attempt to break out of their inner shame, they begin to tell their story so often that it becomes their sole definition of who they are.
You know, it's going to be fascinating to see how this plays out. We appreciate you breaking some of those down for us. Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll be right back.
New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio's administration will pay over $5 million for trying to scam FEMA. Court records show they submitted bogus claims that 132 DOT vehicles were ruined in Superstorm Sandy, asking for $4 million. But it turns out the vehicles were damaged before Sandy struck New York.
A flag honoring police now returning to a state capitol building after it was removed for being, quote, offensive. Some Connecticut lawmakers claiming this thin blue line wooden plaque was disrespectful to the Black Lives Matter movement. Now one of the representatives is requesting for its return after the police union explained what the flag means. Time now for the good, the bad, and the ugly. As always, we start with the good. Get behind the vest. That's what a 6th grader wants for his 12th birthday.
As I grew up, I learned more and more about them and how they're saving lives and helping people. They're out there putting their lives on the line for you, for me.
Oh, gotta love it. Tail and Joint asking for donations to a project that gives life-saving and bulletproof vests to officers in Chicago. The initiative has given more than 8,000 vests to officers.
Great stuff. Next, the bad girl trying to take a picture of her outfit drops to the floor. After slipping off her bathtub. Not good. The Oklahoma teen stands on the ledge, trying to get her full outfit in the shot. She says next time, maybe, she'll ask a friend to take that.
Set it up on the counter. Yeah. Do the little 1, 2, 3, go. Yep. All right, finally, the ugly. When an NBA player spills into the crowd and knocks over a fan's beer, TNT's Kevin Harlan makes sure everyone knows about it.
But it's in the guy's hair.
Could be soaked in worse things, I guess. The fan getting drenched in beer after Celtics forward Marcus Morris dives after a loose ball. Celtics ended up losing to the Bucks 98-97.
During the tease, I erroneously said it was Kenny Albert. It is Kevin Harlan. Both amazing play-by-play guys. Both have the same voice.
Serious correction here.
Serious correction.
That you needed to make. Thanks for joining us today.
And you can't get covered in other things other than beer at a game.
You can.
What's happened?
Have a good weekend, everyone. No words. Fox and Friends starts now.
Bye.